they view it as something like, oh, if I work hard and I keep doing all of these things, then I'm going to get healthy. But in reality, that's just not how it works. You're not losing your health because of one bad meal or one bad night of sleep or one stressful week at work. And when you have a systems failure, effort does not equal results. Okay, guys, so I want to have a quick chat about how the way that you view health as a system is so important overall. You can really think about health as kind of like a resource management system. Most people think about health as this default state, and they view it as something like, oh, if I work hard and I keep doing all of these things, then I'm going to get healthy. But in reality, that's just not how it works. Most people are born with, the way that I like to think about it is that we're born with a maximum balance at birth. And again, before birth is something we can't really consider because it's not something we have any kind of control over. So it's not even really worth getting into that. But we're born with a maximum longevity capital balance. And overall, the system is designed to withdraw from that balance every day. In reality, as a system, life is a game of managing the rate of withdrawal. And peak performance in general is never about adding something new. It's really about minimizing the systemic leaks that we have that are draining the balance faster than necessary. That's really the crux of how this balance and withdrawal system works. So that this initial longevity is like this pool of capital that you've already got at birth. And everything that you do, all of the decisions that you make are going to affect the rate of withdrawal from that until and unless we're living forever, which I don't think is necessarily going to happen anytime that soon, even though we have people like Brian Johnson and Andrew Huberman and all of these longevity experts. I'm not sure we're at the point where we're necessarily going to live forever yet. And so the main thing is that we need to really play this game of resource management of how we're really withdrawing from that and minimizing the systemic leaks in that whole process. And so at the end of the day, we have an automated withdrawal where every 24 hours, a minimum withdrawal is made by aging, by metabolic waste, DNA decay, and other factors that we generally, that's kind of like the uncontrollable part. That's something we can't really control because it's by the passage of time and by standard cellular processes. More importantly, though, we have what I like to think of as the variable tax rates. And those are typically going to be additional things, which include poor habits, which are contributed to by chronic inflammation, sedentary lifestyle, high sugar intake, and these together can double or triple or even quadruple your daily withdrawals. And so the key is you're not losing your health because of one bad meal or one bad night of sleep or one stressful week at work. You're losing longevity and you're losing health because you've got a increased systemic burn rate where you have a whole bunch of different factors which are contributing cumulatively to burning through that longevity capital that you had initially. And the other reason why I like to think of it this way is that the earlier you make the change in life, the more capital you've got over which that change can have an impact. So if you're trying to make a change at the age of say 75 or 80, when you've already lived the majority of your life, you've only got 15 years of longevity capital left, and what you've done in the past 70 years is going to play a major part in terms of how much you've even got left. If you've done the last 70 years right, then you'll have a good amount left, and then you can potentially still make some gains towards the end. But if you have had poor habits the whole way through, smoking, drinking, poor sleep, chronic stress, you're not going to be in a great position to elicit any kind of change. Even if you become the most healthy person on earth all of a sudden, you're not really going to be able to get those benefits because your body essentially is going to keep score, right? It's keeping score of all of the withdrawals you've made over the past 70 years. And when you have a systems failure, effort does not equal results. So when we use a gym example of say hypertrophy, building muscle, a lot of people think that, oh, I'm going to eat more protein, so I'm going to build more muscle. But it doesn't work that way. You need a chain of events. Imagine you showed up to a building site and you dropped off all of the raw materials that you need to build that house, and you expected the house to be built. I mean, who's going to build it, right? You don't have any workers to build it, right? So what you need all of the things. You need the right materials in the right proportions, which is protein, which is recovery, and then you're going to need stimulus, who are the workers. Who's going to build that house for you, right? So you're going to need people who are going to use the materials that you brought and then build that house. And the better rested you are, and the better your nutrition is, and the better stimulus you have in the gym, and the better, the lower the inflammation, the lower the cortisol, the better the adequate protein intake. All of those things will work together to maximize the muscle gain from the actual stimulus that you got. So just because you're training hard and eating well, but you're operating under high cortisol from a crazy high stress job, and you have 5 hours of sleep and you're drinking a lot, you're not going to be gaining nearly as much muscle as you could be if you had those other pieces right. So you're spending that effort capital, but you're getting a negative return, potentially even muscle loss, definitely some fat gain and greater inflammation. Because at the end of the day, you cannot outwork a systemic deficit. If the environment itself, like sleep, like stress, like chronic inflammation is toxic, then the biological machinery just cannot turn on by itself. So how do we mitigate this and reduce that burn rate and reduce the rate of withdrawal? So you can can have the habits that act as tax breaks, essentially. So you're not exercising necessarily to gain life as much as you are to reduce the size of that withdrawal. And by reducing the size of that withdrawal, you are indirectly gaining life because you're reducing the burn rate. And really, the number of things that can do this is a very, very long list, but there's a few which consistently across all domains, whether it's physical health, brain health, inflammation, oxidative stress, all of these things really move the needle. And the heavy hitters are, first of all, high VO2 max and certain degree of strength training. And this is why even though I do weight train in the gym, I don't just weight train. I run, I do some interval training. I make sure I'm mixing things up because one type of action isn't going to necessarily maximize everything. And VO2 max is definitely important, but so is strength. And they play different roles, but equally important ones in maximizing the duration of that longevity capital that you're born with and how far that can actually take you. And of course, in addition to that, there's practical factors of having a certain degree of strength and fitness as you age into your 60s and into your 70s and being able to run around with your grandkids and be independent in your life in your 70s and 80s and 90s even, compared to being in an assisted living facility or some other facility where you're not necessarily fully independent. Additionally, supplements and nutrition are super important. This is like the maintenance crew. These are the guys who reduce the oxidative stress, who reduce the inflammation, and really minimize the friction within the system. And a really understated one is social contact. Now, and this is one that I just don't hear enough longevity experts talking about, just because it's kind of harder to track technically, but having certain amount of social contact is massive, especially for your brain health, especially towards dementia and Alzheimer's. If you're able to have quality social contact, even once a week, as long as the quality is good, that can be enough. If you have more, that's even better. If you have daily or almost daily good quality social contact, and I don't necessarily mean having small talk with your colleagues at work, I'm talking about real social contact with friends or family, people that you enjoy and voluntarily interact with, that really makes a huge difference. And it's also a potent regulator of your nervous system and your hormones because it affects your dopamine, it affects your oxytocin, it affects serotonin, amongst many other things. So the benefit is definitely there. Just because it cannot be measured doesn't mean that it's any less important than any of the things that can be measured. And all of these good habits are just stacking up towards keeping that longevity capital in your bank for as long as possible, which again is contributing to how long that runway ends up being for you and how long you end up living. And not just how long you end up living, but how well you end up living as well. So at the end of the day, health is not a list of tasks. It's essentially a balanced equation. If you feel stuck despite working hard, stop looking at your efforts and start looking at your leaks. Where are you really falling short? Until you kind of plug those leaks, optimizing things is entirely pointless until you block the leaks. If you have a ship that's sinking, you really want to plug the leaks first before you start doing anything else at all. And again, if you're confused by diet and nutrition and wellness and all of these things, make sure you reach out in the description below and schedule your free call, and we'll see if we're a good fit to work together. Also, if you guys are trying to lose weight or gain weight, make sure you check out the TDEE calculator in the description below. It's way more accurate than any of these online BMR calculators that you're going to find because it takes into account your actual caloric intake as well as your weight and height and calculates a time-weighted average of how many calories you're actually burning. And it's something that I've used to bulk and cut as well. And I'm sure you guys will find it super useful too. And if you like science-based videos and videos like this, make sure you like and subscribe and definitely comment below. I really want to hear from you what you think about this. Which part of your system and longevity protocols do you think is overdrawing your longevity capital the most? Is it recovery, nutrition, stress management, or something else completely?